Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. I thought I would sit down and film. It's been a long time since I filmed a video, so I thought it was time. I'm going to do a life update, so I'm going to talk about where I'm at, the job hunt, reflecting and thinking about the future more. I also want to mention my goals and my visions for the future, and my love life, which is always unsuccessful. But when you talk to other people about love and, you know, you're just talking about their love life and your love life, it's like really reassuring and really comforting to know that other women have been treated badly as well, and you're not the only one, because it definitely does feel that when you're really struggling to find something in life, especially love, it's like you feel like you're the only one, basically. So it's just so nice when you can talk to people and they really understand you and they're not judgmental or negative. So yeah, before I dive into everything, I do want to mention the setup, which I'm really happy about. I feel like it looks amazing. I did buy a table, so I've got a wooden foldable table that I bought from the charity shop. This was literally £3. Like, it's insane how cheap that is. And I have actually been on the hunt for a side table for a long time, because I need one to put my phone on, like before I go to sleep, because I do have a really bad habit of going to sleep with my phone next to me while it's playing, you know, a show that I'm watching or a video. So this has definitely, you know, stopped me from doing that, even though I feel like I still do. But don't sleep with your phone, because it's really bad for you. But it's just such a bad habit, you know, like, it doesn't take a lot just to put your phone on a table. And I have got a long, wide, an extremely long, wide shelf above my bed. So yeah, I don't really know why I keep sleeping with my phone, but you know, that's my fault, I guess. But yeah, I just thought I'd mention this table because it's brought me so much joy, and it just feels really amazing when you have all the furniture that you need. And obviously when you know, move home, you do need to buy a lot of furniture. And because I've moved into a house share, I haven't needed to buy, you know, washing machine and fridge and, you know, dining table and chairs or bed, you know, like, I mean, some house shares do come unfurnished. So I did view a few house shares before this one, and it was so depressing, guys, you know, like, it really just shook me to my core and made me think that, you know, it's pretty dark. Like, just the house shares that I viewed, like, it just was so not for me. And you know, even though, like, I was living in a different house share before here, that didn't work out. And you know, it's like, not everything's gonna work out in life. Like, sometimes you move somewhere, it's, you know, right for you, or it's okay, and then it comes to an end. And I'm a firm believer in, when something ends, it's just not meant to be anymore, you know. Like, I really do feel that there is a, you know, things run its course, basically, and nothing really lasts forever. So I'm really, really super grateful still that I got this room, because when you're not working, you know, landlords don't really want to they don't want to take on a tenant that isn't working. So yeah, there was a moment where, you know, basically I thought that I wasn't going to get this room because my estate agent was, you know, worried how I would be able to afford it. And, you know, I understand that, like, I get that, I guess, but the fact that I have actually got this room, and, you know, everything's been going well, and I've obviously been paying the rent, you know, which is, you know, what you should be doing, but some people don't want to pay rent. I feel like I got very lucky, and, you know, I do have moments where I'm thinking, you know, I'm just so happy that I'm living here. And even though the city I live in is very rough, and I really don't like the city that I live in, you know, you have to live somewhere, and I'm not planning to live here forever, you know, especially in a house share. You know, it's just more like this is a stepping stone. And, you know, I think that personally I'd rather live in a house share. Like, if it came between living with family, like, or living in a house share forever, I would pick a house share because, you know, it's like you have more privacy. Even though obviously it's not your own home, you have more privacy. And it's just been so bliss and so peaceful, like, living here. Like, just no one interferes with me, no one bothers me, no one's judging me or upsetting me. And, you know, yeah, I feel like just the house I was living in before, there was too many people living there. And yeah, I felt like some people living there were just horrible people, basically. And you know, I just feel like when something ends, it's, you know, there's a silver lining, and there is a chance to, you know, have a new beginning. And I feel like I'm just focusing on where I'm at now. Even though it's normal to think about the past, it's just kind of like I'm just really, like, I just would, you know, I'm thinking more about what's going to happen in the future, you know, because I feel, even though I feel much happier living here, like living in a house share, compared to living with family, obviously, you know, I would like to know what's going to happen in the future, really, because, yeah, like, obviously no one knows what's going to happen in the future, and my focus once moving here is to find a job, you know, because, you know, it doesn't take long to settle in, and the people I live with, you know, they're very chill, they keep themselves to themselves. I feel like I've learnt the importance of not talking too much to the people that I live with, and not revealing personal, private details. And yeah, just like keeping myself to myself more, because I feel like that's what I didn't do in the previous house share that I was living in. I was way too open. I think when you're a very open person, it's not always a good thing, you know, like people can use that against you. So yeah, I think that, you know, in life you make mistakes and you learn from it, and that's something that I've definitely also been working on internally, is just, controlling my temper, which has flared up a lot this year. And, it's like the only people that have made me angry is my family. And, do you know what I mean? Or if I've met the wrong guy, like, that's made me angry. But, it's not good to feel angry all the time. And like I said before, I have felt very angry this year, and it's affected my health, especially because I've had heart palpitations a couple weeks ago, and I spoke to my doctor about it, and we really had an in-depth chat about what's going on in my life and my health. I wanted to check that my health was okay, and it was fine. And he did say, checked my blood pressure and my heart rate, and he said that it is a bit high, but it's nothing to be concerned about. And I just feel like I'm not surprised, because I've just been put under so much stress these past couple months, with the previous house share, and that coming to an end, and but in a bad way, and with my family, they've really provoked me a lot this year. And I believe in karma, guys, and I believe, I don't want to talk too much about them, but I definitely believe that what goes around comes around, and no one in life can get away with bad behaviour. Eventually their karma will come, and I would like to think I'm a nice person, and I'm genuine, and I'm respectful, and I don't go out my way to treat someone badly for no reason, or disrespect them for no reason. We're all adults at the end of the day, we're all grown adults, and there's just, it's just very wrong to treat people badly for no reason, we've all got feelings, and it's just wrong, but just kick my table. But that's why you have to set boundaries. And I feel like when I was in the pub, I've just thought of something that happened that really uplifted me and made me happy. When I was in the pub with a guy that I mentioned that he likes me more than a friend, and I didn't. So the guy that was in my room, but we've gone our separate ways. When we were talking in the pub, we had a really good time together. We had a really good time together, and I still think it's a shame that we're not in each other's life anymore. But when the feelings are not, when someone has feelings for you and you don't, and they don't want to be friends, then it leaves you with no choice, I guess, to go your separate ways. But I just think it's a shame still, because everything, his advice and his support was so genuine, and his advice was so right. And when I would talk to him, I felt like he was really listening to me, and he really understood me, and he was really supporting me. And at times I would say to him, do you think I'm right? And he would say yes. And then especially when I mentioned family conflict that's been happening too much now, too many times, I said to him, this is, what's your opinion, basically? And he said, you're your family, especially your mother, should be supporting you, and she should be on your side, you know. And he didn't really understand why my mother's not supporting me, you know. And I'm not gonna just not talk about them just because my family don't like me to. Like, I don't care. You know, this is my channel. I talk about whatever I like, whenever I like. It's not down to other people what I talk about, you know. Like, I never mention anyone's name, and I don't mention private, personal details. So I just think my family not liking me talk about them on YouTube is pathetic, you know. It's pathetic, and it's just stupid, and they need to get a grip. But, you know, when you've gone through hard times and you're still going through obstacles, you know, you need someone that you can talk to freely, that understands you, is really listening to you, is really supporting you, and has your back, you know. And I just really appreciate, you know, our conversations we had in my room, because that was the first time I felt like, you know, a human being actually understood me and really supported me and uplifted me, you know. And at the end of the day, there's right and wrong in life, you know. Like, if you're doing something wrong, you're doing something wrong, and you need to stop doing that, you know. But my family don't want to stop, you know. So that's why I've cut communication, you know, and that's never gonna change. And I feel like when a person keeps making you feel very angry, then that is just showing that you can't be around that person anymore, you know. And I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I don't feel hurt with the stuff my brother said about me. Like, how would you feel, you know? How would you feel if your siblings called you fat, ugly, they've called you a pig, they said you got spots on your face? How would you feel? You're not going to feel happy, you know? Like, that's going to make you feel very upset and sad. And, you know, it's like, yes, my mother and brother have got their karma, like, you know, that I know that, right? I've heard things that have happened to them, and I feel like that was God, you know. God is in charge, and, you know, it makes me feel less sad knowing that God has given them their karma, you know, and he still is, you know, because I don't live with them anymore. So, you know, I don't know what's going on with them, right? Especially as I'm not talking to them as well. And I just don't want to talk to people that, you know, think and feel family is everything, you know. I don't subscribe to that. And I just think it's a load of shit, basically. So, you know, sometimes in life you just have to cut people out for good and never look back, you know. Like, I just feel so happy since I've cut out family, you know, certain friends I've had, certain guys I've met, you know, because they were all affecting my mental health, you know, and that's not the way it should be. So, yeah, I just thought I would get that all off my chest. Like I said, I'm really trying not to talk about family conflict too much, but I just wanted to, you know, it just does come up, you know, but, you know, this is where I should feel that I should have, you know, people in my life that understand me and really support me, you know, especially when I've gone through, you know, something like that. And yeah, but now I want to dive into where am I at with the job hunt, because I've not really spoke about this for a while. And yeah, so basically I still haven't had any success. I haven't had any job interviews. I have been applying for like basically apprenticeships and retail jobs, but obviously I would prefer, you know, working in an apprenticeship, and I do think it will happen. I just think it's a matter of time, and you know, it's just not happened yet. So that's something that, you know, is important to remember, that when you're trying to get something that you don't have, you know, you just have to be patient. So I'm just learning to be more patient, and you know, I acknowledge the fact that things happen at the right time, and I have what it takes to, you know, become an apprentice, right, and be successful. Like, I have everything that it takes, but obviously the right company has not saw my potential. And a lot of companies, especially apprenticeships, you know, you have an interview, they say they'll get back to you and they don't. And it's like, it's just wrong, guys, you know. Like, I don't want to, you know, really subscribe to this rhetoric that, you know, oh, that's what apprenticeships do. Like, it's wrong, you know. It's not something that we should just accept, you know. So I think that this just kind of goes into the point of, you know, when like management thinking they're above you, basically. And you know, I want to mention quick that, so the apprenticeship I had an interview for in April, so what, 4 months ago now already, I basically saw on Google that they're hiring again, right? And that just doesn't make sense, guys, you know. Like, I don't even have the energy, but it just doesn't make sense at all, you know. Like, to interview however many people the employers interview for apprenticeships, because I don't know the number, and then they don't pick anyone. So how does that make sense, right? Like, they really do enjoy these employers wasting people's time. And I look back with that company and think I should have gave them a hard time on the phone, right? I really should have, because, you know, it's like, that's what they deserve. When you say you're going to get back to me and you don't get back to me, you need to explain yourself, you know? Like, you need to explain yourself, and I have every right to give you a hard time. So if that ever happens again, guys, I'll be ringing the company and I'll give them a hard time on the phone, yeah? Do you know what I mean? Because you can do that without swearing or getting angry, right? Like I said, I'm just like baffled, but it made me feel good just knowing that this company that I had an interview for in April is hiring again. That made me feel so, like, it just made me feel happy and gave me satisfaction knowing that, you know, they've not picked the right person, right? Like, they've not found the right person, and that's because companies like them, they are too picky, guys, you know? Like, at the end of the day, they're too picky, right? When you've interviewed a couple people, yeah, as an employer, and you don't pick anyone, that's showing that you're extremely fussy. So, even though I feel like I do need to do more preparation for business admin apprenticeship interviews, I just think, it's just crazy how they don't get back to you, right? Some of them. And at least the business admin apprenticeship interview I had in February, at least they got back to me, right? But even that interview was an absolute joke, right? It was a joke, and I will never go to a group assessment interview, like whatever you call it. I will never go there again. I will never do that again, right? Because like I said, there was a young girl in the interview, and she's wearing a short skirt and tights, yeah? And she might have got the job. So even though I truly feel that sometimes your heart's not in the company, like I don't really think my heart was in any of these companies, to be honest. You know what I mean? But it's just shocking that there are young people out there that are going to interviews, especially apprenticeships, and they don't dress smart, they don't dress smart at all, right? It's an interview, it's not a nightclub, like, do you know what I mean? It's just like, I just feel like what I'm saying is right, and if you're not going to make an effort in an interview to dress smart and look the part, then you shouldn't be there, So that does still irritate me, that, like I said, everything I just said basically, and I don't know what to say really, but what I will say is that it's just, you have to keep going, and just because, I haven't found an apprenticeship, it doesn't mean that it won't happen. It just hasn't happened yet, and it's like, obviously, I'm getting older, and I don't really want to be in this position forever, so that's why I'm really hoping that I do find an apprenticeship soon, so I can really, actually move on with my life and, have a better life, because I do think that, of course, when you have a job, the conditions in your life are much better. You're not struggling financially, you're in a better place mentally because you have a purpose, you're going to work every day, and you have that social aspect of work as well. But, it's like, you can only do so much, right? Like, that's it, like, I've been applying for jobs, but that's it. I can't do more than that, right? And, yes, there's certain jobs I don't want to do, and that's my, prerogative. And I just feel like if I basically, if I did get a retail job again, it's like, I don't want that to be for the rest of my life, right? Otherwise, I'm never going to feel happy. And working in retail and hospitality is just shit, It's shit. Yes, I understand that people need to pay their rent, and they need to pay their bills, and they need to feed their kids, but no one wants to do that forever, and it's not a crime saying that. So, it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's just, it's hard, it's hard when you're trying to get into a specific job, and you're not getting anywhere, right? But I think it's all about changing your mindset, and I'm really trying to tell myself that, just remain optimistic, because you don't know what the future holds, and things could turn around tomorrow, like,